welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And yes, I'm back in my house. We have had our power restored. This is a big relief. It is now warm. I'm not having to sleep in freezing cold rooms. So yeah, this is all good news. And more good news is that I get to solve a puzzle by Jeet Sampat. Now Jeet, some of you may not know this, but Jeet is a PhD student and I think of mathematics and a seriously good Sudoku constructor. And this one is called Pulsar. I guess that's because there's some sort of pulsing thing going around this white dot in the middle. But apparently this is a brilliant puzzle, and I'm looking forward to having a go at it. Quite a simple rule set today as well, which I'll read out to you in just a moment. What did I need to mention? Oh yeah, we're going to do a new series of YouTube shorts over the next few days, possibly weeks, depending on how it goes, where Mark and me sometimes will solve that day's Wordle. So lots of you have been asking us, can we do Wordle more often? Yes, we are. We're going to try and do it. Mark has undertaken to try and do every day's Wordle in less than a minute, which is of course the length of a YouTube short, but he's really going to try and do it without any cuts in less than a minute, which ought to be quite awesome to watch. So I think we released either the first or the second of those today. Don't watch them before you've done that day's Wordle, or you will be spoiled, and that would be bad. Other than that, I need to tell you about next month's Patreon reward, which is coming up in just a few days' time. February, of course, being a short month. So 1st of March, we have got another approachable Sudoku hunt for you. Maybe quite approachable. Yeah, that's probably the right word. And lots more stuff coming up on Patreon as well towards the middle of the month, hopefully to celebrate us reaching 450,000 subscribers. I'll tell you more about that soon too. Right, let's get to the rules of Jeet's puzzle. What are they? We have got normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage. Digits cannot repeat within a cage, so normal killer Sudoku rules. That means that these 7 cells have to add up to 40. These 5 cells have to add up to 19, and you can't repeat a digit, so what you can't do is something like that and make those add up to 17, because although these ones don't see each other Sudoku wise, they do see each other in the cage, and that's not allowed. Cells separated by a white dot, and I think there are only 2 of those. Only 2 cells, there's only 1 white dot, must contain consecutive digits. So if that's a 1, this digit here has to be a 2. We've got to make sure these are consecutive, and not all possible dots are given. So all that's saying is it's perfectly possible for these 2 cells to be a 1 and a 2. There doesn't have to be a white dot between consecutive digits. It's just in this domino we know that they are actually consecutive. Now do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play Let's Get Cracking. And we do seem to have lots of enormous cages here, both in terms of sort of the simple size of the cage in terms of the digit in the top left hand corner, but also in terms of the size of the cage in terms of cells. 1, 2, 3, yeah, that's a 7 cell cage as well. Oh, in fact, look, yeah, that's a 7 cell cage without a 1 and a 2 in it. And you may say, how do I know that there's no 1 and 2 in this cage? Well, that is because I know a secret. Now, the secret is something we only tell our very favourite people, but that includes those who watch the channel. And the secret is that any complete row, any complete column, or indeed any complete box of a Sudoku will contain all of the digits 1 to 9 once each. And if you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. And why does this matter for killer cages? Well, this is a 7 cell cage that sums to 42. It cannot have a repeated digit in it. So let's imagine it was 2 cells larger. Let's imagine it was those 2 cells as well. Then it would be a 9 cell cage, and because of the secret, which is that the numbers 1 to 9 add up to 45, we would know, obviously this adds up to 45. Now here we're missing exactly 2 digits that must sum up to 3, the difference between 45 and 42. And the only way that we can be missing 2 digits that sum up to 3 is if we're missing a 1 and a 2 from the cage. So, what is that telling us? Yeah, okay, it is telling us something. It's telling us something about this digit, I think. may be telling us more than this, but this is all I've spotted. So if there's no 1 and no 2 in this cage, the question I'm wondering is, where do we put the 1 and the 2 in box number 3? And what we can't do here is put them both in those 3 cells. And the reason is, again, another use of the secret. We're using the secret iteratively today, and that's because that's a 7-cell 40 cage, which means it is missing 2 digits that add up to 5. Now, if there was a 1 and a 2 in this cage, let's say they were in those 2 cells, that would mean the smallest digits that could be missing from this 40 cage would be a 3 and a 4. Well, 3 and 4 add up to 7, which is too many. So there must be a 1 or a 2 missing from this cage. And therefore, in this box, where do we put the 1 or 2 that can't go in the 40 cage, and that definitely isn't in the 42 cage? Well, it must be in the corner. And then, because whatever this, let's imagine that digit's a 1, the 2 can't go in the 42 cage, so the 2 will be in those 3 cells. So there is a 1 or a 2 in these 3 cells, and a 1 or a 2, well, a 1 or a 2 in exactly that cell. Now, whatever this digit is, if this digit was a 2, there would then be a 3 in this cage, but there would be no 1 and no 4. I don't really know how to pencil mark this, because it depends what this digit is. Okay, no, I'm not sure what to do now. We may have to look elsewhere. Oh, I see. Look, we've got a 28 cage there. That's another 7-cell cage, adding up to 28 this time. Well, that means, remember, if it was a 9-cell cage, it would add up to 45. So this cage is missing 2 cells that sum to 17. So this is missing 8 and 9. And that's interesting, because that means that cell is an 8 or a 9. Because what we can't do is cram an 8 and a 9 into this 19 cage in those 3 cells there. Because if we do, the other 3 cells will have to add up to 2. And no matter how hard we try, we can scream and shout about it, we will not be able to make that work. So there is an 8 or a 9 in this 19 cage, and that's going to basically really restrict it. Because if it's got an 8 in it, the other 4 digits will have to be 1, 2, 3, and 5. And if it's got a 9 in it, the other 4 digits will have to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, whoopsie. So those also need to have the option of being 4. So, what does that mean? There has to be a 1, 2, and a 3 in a 19 cage. That's what that means. Which might matter somehow. Not sure. Okay, look, we've got another 42 cage down here. So this, yeah, oh, I see. Look, we've got total symmetry. In fact, we've got a 42 and a 40 cage. So the logic we've done up in the top right-hand corner is completely, I think, yeah, it's the same geometry. It's completely transposable to box 7. There must be a 1 or a 2 in the corner. There must be a 1 or a 2 in those 3 cells. Now, do they have to be different, or do they have to be the same? I don't know. Whatever this digit is, can't go in the 21 cage, because if we put even a 2 in there, the other 2 digits would have to add up to 19, and that's not going to work. So this digit goes in one of those 3 cells, and in one of those 3 cells. I don't think that is telling us what its nature is in box 3. Oh, I see. And look, yeah, we've got exactly the same pattern in box 9 regarding 19 cages and 28 cages. So there's a lot of symmetry in this puzzle. That's going to force is identical, isn't it? I think it is identical. Yeah, so that forces 8, 9 into the corner down here, an 8 or a 9 into the 19 cage, and the 19 cage filled with the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And in these, an 8 or a 9. Oh goodness me, I'm getting to good levels of pencil marking here. I am becoming pencil mark. No, this is bad. So I feel like I should be able to tell whether these are different or not, or these are different or not. How are we going to do that? I don't know is the answer. I've got to have 1, 2... Yeah, it's interesting. I've got to have 1s, 2s and 3s in the 19 cages. Now if the 1s and the 2s were in... no, it doesn't quite work. If the 1s and the 2s were in those cells, then we would know there was a 1-2 pair down here, which would actually have to be in those 2 cells because this couldn't be a 1 or a 2. Oh, and that would break the puzzle, because then I'd have 1s and 2s in 3 cells in row 9. So you can't have... So this can't be 1, 2, 9 or 1, 2, 8. There must be a 1 or a 2 in one of those cells, or possibly both. Yeah, it could be both actually, because you could put 1 and 2 in the 28 cage in box 9. What's that doing? Ah, okay. What about that cell? Yes, that cell sees the whole of the 19 cage. Ah, that's rather beautiful. Yeah, this cell here can't be any digit that appears in the 19 cage or this digit. Well, we know that between these 4 cells, there's definitely 8s and 9s seeing this cell. So this, and we know that in the 19 cage, there must be the digits 1, 2, and 3. So that digit's only 4, 5, 6, or 7. And one of those will be ruled out by whether the 19 cage is 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 or 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. And presumably that must work the same here, does it? Yeah, I can't see any difference in the geometry. So this square also sees this 19 cage and that digit. So that's also 4, 5, 6 or 7. Yeah, okay, now let's try that logic again on that cell, look. Although that's a bit more tricky, isn't it? Because this cell I can totally see sees all of that 40 cage. So whatever is in this cell cannot appear in the 40 cage. It cannot appear in the 40 cage, but it cannot be a 1 or a 2, this cell. So, right, that's interesting. That is interesting, I think. So what is this digit? Well, doesn't it have to be a 3 or a 4? I might be wrong about this, but I think this cell simply cannot be a 1 or a 2. So if we think about what's missing from this 40 cage, it's missing 2 digits that sum to 5. So it's either missing 1 and 4 or 2 and 3. But as this can't be a 1 or a 2, this must be a 3. This must be the 3 or the 4 that's missing from that 40 cage. So that means this digit is missing from the 40 cage. That means those 2 digits sum to 5, I think, because we know this digit, whatever it is missing from the 40 cage. But we know whatever this digit is in the 40 cage, along with its counterpart that's not that digit. So imagine there's a 1 in these 3 cells. Then we know there's a 4 in the 40 cage as well, and there isn't a 2 and a 3. Well, that means this is a 3, but this will be a 2 because this is a 1, and the vice versa. So those 2 digits add up to 5. I've no idea what we're meant to do with that. is that something to do with the 19 cages then? Or maybe, have we got the same? Yeah, okay, we've got the same logic with that square, haven't we, because of the symmetry. So these two squares add up to 5 as well. And again, this digit is not appearing in this 40 cage, and neither is this digit. Ah, so if these were different, then we could take 4 out of both of those cells, because if this was a 3-4 pair, then neither of these squares could be a 4, because that would rule 4 out of both of those squares. So why are these different? Now you could put this digit in the 21 cage. If that was a 4, it could go in the 21 cage. Okay. But that digit can't go in the 21 cage. Oh, that's right. This is really clever. Right. Let's colour this in. Where does that digit go in box 8? And the answer is there. It has to go there, because it can't go in these 3 by Sudoku, and it can't go in a 21 cage by maths. Now, it can't go in the 40 cage, because we know that the 40 cage doesn't have either of these 2 digits in it. So it must go there. So that square's become a 1 or a 2. And that, oh, this is lovely. Right, so now where does this green digit go in box 9? Well, by Sudoku it goes there, because it can't repeat in its own cage, so it can't appear in those 3 cells. So that's green. And now, yes, okay, oh, this is, right, so now I know these are a 3-4 pair. They are not the same, because this is not green, because it sees green here. And if that's not green, I know these 2 digits add up to 5 in a different way to these 2 digits. So that digit I'll make orange, this digit I'll make... these are the decisions that really vex me. Do I want colour here? I think I do. I'm going to make that one blue. So that means these 2 digits can't be 4. Now, one of these can't be 5 either. Whichever one of these is a 1, 2, 3, 5. Although that's presupposing that these are different, which I don't think I've proved yet. Is because these are different. No, hang on. This might be nonsense. Do we know these are different or not? The answer is I don't think we do. What happens if these are the same? Let's have a think about that. If these are the same, then these, so you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 in both of those. These would both be 8. So if that was the case, the 40 cage would have to contain an 8 there, and the 40 cage here would have to contain an 8 in one of those. Yeah, that's quite interesting. That 8 would have to be in exactly this position as well, otherwise there would be a problem. No, hang on, that's wrong. If that's... No, it couldn't be in this position. Apologies, it couldn't be in this position, because if it was in this position you couldn't place it in either of these boxes. So the 8 would have to be in one of those 2 positions. But that's impossible. Yeah, this is, I think, however you do this, it's impossible. If these are both the same, the question I'm wondering about is where you put that digit in box 3, sorry. And the answer is, it can't go in those cells, so it has to be in one of these 3. Now I think whichever way you do this, if you put it in one of those, in this domino, it can't repeat in its cage, and it definitely isn't a 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, so it can't go in those 3 squares. Now that would suggest it must go in this square, but that's so beautiful. By symmetry you get exactly the same problem now in this box, because you can't put it in those and you can't put it there. So it simply cannot go in box 3 anywhere. So these are not the same. There we go. So that means that these need different colours as well. So let's give one of them the red. We'll award one of them red and one of them purple, I guess. Because that logic must be symmetrical, mustn't it? Sorry, I didn't prove that, but I'm assuming that's the case. Oh, well, it doesn't even matter, does it? It just is. It's not even because it's not possible to put it in there. It doesn't matter whether it's possible to put it in there, but it's actually not going to be, because I've got exactly the same geometric constraint around these 3 digits. Okay, so how do we take this forward? So green is in one of those 3 cells in box 3, and so so yellow is in one of those 3 cells in box 3. Green and yellow must appear in both 19 cages. And that must mean something. I don't know how to do this. Green's got to go in one of those 3 cells, I think, in the 28 cage at the top. I'm not sure if it's quite tricky to pencil mark because it's going across the box, but I think green has to be in one of those 3. So presumably that means yellow has to go in one of these 3 by symmetry. Ah, right, got it. Okay, well that's quite interesting. Because now this, I think the play here, the interesting thing is this 21 cage. Because this is the only, apart from this white dot, it's the only break in symmetry. So we've got to keep track of what this 21 cage is doing, especially as regards 1s and 2s, because if we make either of those squares yellow, where are we putting yellow in box 8? And the answer is nowhere, I think. Because if either of these is yellow, you can't put yellow in those 3 by Sudoku, so these are out. Yellow is not green by definition. Yellow has already appeared in the 40 cage in one of these cells, so it's not in those, which would force yellow into the 21 cage where it cannot go. So those are not yellow, and this is yellow. Wow. So that means, okay, well now yellow has to make an appearance in box 9 somewhere. And it can't repeat in its cage, so it's in one of those 3 cells, which means this is not yellow, which means this square cannot be a 1 or a 2 now, because it sees both the 1 and the 2 somewhere in those 4 cells. This is a fascinating puzzle, isn't it? It's weird. Not easy though, I will say that. Not easy. So now I've got yellow here, yellow in one of these. Yellow can't repeat here. Oh, this is lovely. Yeah, got it. I've got it. Because now where does yellow go in box 6? Well, the answer is not in the 40 cage. Because the 40 cage hasn't got blue or yellow in it from the logic we did earlier. So the yellow is not there. It's not there because it would repeat in the 19 cage. It's not in there by Sudoku because of this yellow. So yellow is in one of those, which means yellow is not in these. So that's become a yellow. So this is not only actually yellow, it's actually a 1 or a 2, which means those are not yellow. Good grief. Which means that is yellow exactly. Let's get rid of some adornments that we had in that cell that we no longer need. So yellow's in this stripe. So can we do that logic the other way round with green? Oh no, maybe we can't because we don't have a 21 cage here. Yeah, that's... yeah, it's all different. It's all different because I don't have a 21 cage. And I don't have a yellow in this cell, which would be implied by symmetry. So, no, something's awry about how the symmetry works. Okay. So what does that mean? And the answer to that is I don't know. Oh, sorry about this. I'm now struggling. I don't quite understand how I'm meant to do this. Am I meant to focus on greens or am I meant to focus on yellows? I don't know. Oh, you know what? Now it's really easy to see this and these digits aren't the same. Maybe I could have done this before, but I'm just thinking that this digit, whatever it is, has to be in the 42 cage, and therefore it has to be in one of those 3 cells, so it can never be the same as this. So whatever complicated stuff I did earlier was completely unnecessary. Maybe that's right. One of those is purple. That logic must be symmetrical, so one of those is red. What does that mean? Yellow in box 4 is a little restricted because it can't repeat in the 40 cage and it can't ever appear in the 42 cage. So yellow is in that little triomino in box number 4. Ah, that's interesting. Right, there is something we can do in box 1. I think with this yellow. This 28 cage must have a yellow in it. And that yellow is not in those 3 squares and it's not here. So it's in one of these 3 squares, which means it can't be here. If this is yellow, you can't put yellow in the 28 cage. So that's not yellow. Now that means yellow's in one of those 2 squares. In box 4, yes it does. So that's not yellow anymore. And yellow's in one of these 3 cells in, I don't really know how to pencil mark this. So yellow's in one of these 3. Yellow also, I suppose, has to appear in the 19 cage somewhere. So if that's yellow, that would have to be yellow. If that's yellow, that or that might be able to be yellow. And if this is yellow, I don't know. Oh, then yellow would be in one of those 2, I think, because of this yellow. These can never be yellow. This is very confusing. Okay, I don't feel like I'm quite understanding how this puzzle slots together. So we've got, yeah, so the bottom of the grid is much better defined simply because of this 21 cage. That's what's giving us all these 1-2 pairs in the bottom of the grid. Now, can I somehow propagate these 1s and 2s? Or do I have to use the fact that I know that these cages, this cage for example, hasn't got a blue digit in it? But literally, I think this is the only blue digit we know about in the puzzle. I know that there's a blue digit in that 40 cage, but how does that connect to that? And I know there's an orange digit in this 40 cage. The answer is I don't know. There must be some way of doing something else. So green is up here. So if green is here, those can't be green, these can't be green, but that's okay. Green could escape here or here. I don't see, because I don't have a 21 cage here, I just feel like it's different. And I've got to spot some other way of making progress. Yellow has appeared in this cage already. Yellow can't be here for the... Yeah, this... is there some way I can analyse this domino further? If that's yellow, then yellow is in one of those two cells. That's a little bit interesting. If this is yellow, actually that cannot be yellow. And that's because if this was yellow and this was yellow, where would we put yellow in box 2? Yellow couldn't go there, it couldn't go there. It couldn't repeat in its own cage. It's already appeared in the 19 cage through this cell, so it's not here. And it can't ever go in the 40 cage because the 40 cage has a green 1 or 2 in it and therefore it doesn't have a yellow 1 or 2 in it. So if that's yellow, then that exactly is yellow. So that's one possibility. I don't know how to do that. I'm going to use oh no, I'm not in test, so I can't do it. I was going to label them both A. So those two are a possibility. Now the only other possibility then is that this one is yellow. Now if this one is yellow, yes, then that one would be yellow, wouldn't it? Because I'm now, if these two are yellow, where does the yellow go in box 1? Well, it can't repeat in a cage, so it's not in any of these cells. It's not a 5, 6, 7, it's not an 8 or a 9. Those two are ruled out, so that would be yellow. So now this can never be yellow, because neither of the option, we know one of these is true, and whichever one is true, we end up with one of these two having to be yellow. So if that's yellow and that's yellow, oh, but that just never works then. Yeah, this is the point. Got it. Right, this is never yellow. And the reason this is never yellow is because of what it does bizarrely enough to box 2. If that's yellow, the only place for yellow in box 1 is exactly here by Sudoku. But this can never be yellow because now in box 2 there is nowhere to put yellow. It can't go there, it would repeat in a cage. It can't go in the 40 cage because the 40 cage doesn't have yellow in it. And it can't go anywhere else. So this is an impossibility. Good grief. Which means that's an impossibility as well. This is finally yellow, therefore it's not 3, 4 or 5, and that is yellow. And that felt very difficult. There's probably many easy ways of doing that, but at least I've done it now. So now yellow is in one of these cells. And how many yellows have I got in the grid? The answer is loads. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 6 yellows. Yellow in the central box is in one of those cells. Oh, I see. So I've got this little pattern of yellows left, and that can't be yellow, look, because of this yellow. So now I've got a symmetrical looking pattern, symmetrical around that diagonal. I bet these two are going to be a 1-2 pair, you know. That's going to be a green, and that's going to put a 1-2 pair here. Somehow, some way. That's what we're heading towards with our pulsar. Okay, so how do we now do the same sort of thing with green? Can we do the same sort of thing with green? So that's revolving around. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. It's obvious. Good grief, Simon. How could either of those be green? The answer is they can't be, because then where would you put green in box 6? Nowhere. They'd repeat in their box if you put them in there, and that can't be a 1 or a 2 because there's already a green in this box. So these are not green. Oh, good grief. Right, sorry, I should have seen that earlier, but I didn't. Never mind. Now we've got green. So that means one of these 3 is now green. Green can't... Oh... So green is quite restricted now in box 2. It can't go here, it can't repeat within the 40 cage, and it can never have gone in the 42 cage. So green is in one of these 3 cells, and it's not that one, because we know green in the 28 cage is in one of these. So green is vertical. One of those 2 is green, and my pencil marking has gone completely doolally. So one of these 3 is green. So we are heading towards. Now there must be. Oh no, I was going to say now there must be a 1, 2 on the line, but that's not true, because it's possible this is a yellow 1, 2. But if that's yellow now, then we know that there are 2 of these 3 cells are 1 or 2, and there must be a 1, 2 in one of these positions. So I suppose it's possible this would be a 1 here and the 2, 3 pair above, but I bet you it's not going to be. So one of these is green. Now, can we disprove one of these options? If that's green, then this would have to be green. And that's impossible. Good grief. Right, let me show you why. If this is green, I'm just going to make it... Oh no, that's not going to work. Let's just make it green. Let's just make this green. If this is green, we have to then ask where green goes in box 1. Now, because it can't go in those squares, obviously, it has to go here. So this would be green. So these 2 are now green. Now we have to ask where green goes in box 4. And you can see by Sudoku it's got to be in this domino, where it cannot be. Because that if green and yellow are in this 40 cage, you can't miss 2 cells out of 2 digits out of this 40 cage that add up to 5. So this doesn't work. This is simply not green. Therefore green is in one of those, which means all of these can't be 1s and 2s anymore, because green in the box is not in here, which means this must be green, because we know the 19 cage needs a green. So that is actually green. Oh, so I'm getting closer. Am I to... Not really. No, I'm not closer to proving this is a 1-2 pair. We know that when we know which is which here, because of course green here means green's not there. It's not in the 40 cage because of the reasons we've talked about. So green is in one of this stripe, which means green is not here, which means that's green. So there we go. We've actually... No, we haven't. We've got 6 greens. We've got several yellows, but no actual... What's this doing? Have we actually taken it forward at all? We must have done somehow. Has it done something to red now? Oh, yeah, maybe. The 42 cage needs a red in it, and I can see that red must be at the bottom. Now the 28 cage doesn't have a red in it. Oh yeah, red is in one of those 2 cells, because red must... Yeah, because this is purple. Red in box 9 is in one of these 2, because that is not red. So yeah, so now how could that be red? It can't be, because if that's red, you have to put red here and it will clash in box 3. So this is not red, which means red is now in one of those two cells. Oh, good grief. Which means red is not here. Red, yeah, so okay, so now where does red go in box number 2? Not in, it can't repeat in the 40 cage where it already exists. It can't go there by Sudoku, so it's in one of these 3, and that means it's not there. And this cell has actually become, after all this, a red cell, a red square. Now, purple, let's try and do the same with purple. So purple must be in one of those. So, oh, purple isn't in the 28 yet. Purple is in one of these, isn't it? Oh, but we don't know as much here. Yeah, so here the 1s and 2s are in the wings of the 19. Here they're most certainly not. Which probably matters somehow. So if that, then that, then that, which might work. If this, I don't know, is this puzzle quite hard? It feels quite difficult. I feel like I'm chasing my tail all the time and trying to work out what's going on. I'm probably not approaching this correctly. Let me just think about that for a moment. Have I got sidetracked by trying to do these coloured digits? Is there something more meta that we should be realising? It's not set. Oh, please don't be set. I've not even thought of set until just this moment. No, well, I don't think it's set. So, is it the 21 cage somehow? If that was red, then red couldn't go in the 21 cage. Or indeed, if that's red, it couldn't go in the 21 cage. And given red is high, that could be very powerful. If red is 9 and there, this would have to be 876. Ooh, that looks a bit tricky as well. Oh dear, 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 I think I've messed up this. Not messed it up, but I think there's something. Oh no, no, no. I've just spotted something that I should have spotted about 30 minutes ago. I'm so sorry, but look. That 40 cage is missing low digits, not high digits. It's missing low digits. So it needs to have lots of high digits in it. But this 21 cage needs to have lots of high digits in it as well. And this 21 cage sees an awful lot of this 40 cage. What by that I mean, how could the 21 cage share all its digits with the 40 cage? That's a good way of thinking about it. How is that possible? The answer is it's not possible, because if this 21 cage has 3 digits in it that are also in the 40 cage, those digits could only go in this domino. And by definition, I've just said, what if they're all 3 of these digits are in the 40 cage? That's impossible. So it's only possible for the 21 cage to have 2 digits in it that appear in the 40 cage. And we know that the 40 cage is missing only 2 digits, and those digits sum up to 5. So if the 21 cage has to have a digit in it that is part of a set of 2 digits that add up to 5, the 21 cage must have a 4 in it. It's the only way it'll work. That's so clever. That's so clever, G. It's far too clever for me. That's really beautiful, isn't it? So in this cage, yeah, we can prove this other ways. Look, if we put 6, 7 and 8 in there, you'll see why there's a problem. Because now I know the 40 cage has got all the high digits in it. So where am I going to put the 6, 7 and 8 in this cage? They've all got to go in that domino. It won't work. So we have to put 1 digit in here that is not in the 40 cage. And that digit therefore must be a 4, because anything lower will not allow the 21 cage to be filled. So the 21 cage is 489. The 4, we know the 89 must be here. We know there's no 4 now in the 40 cage. And if there's no 4 in the 40 cage, there's no 1 in the 40 cage. So that square is a 2. Oh, that's very, very beautiful. And far too clever for me. Good grief. And now, though, we might have a start. We know those two added up to... Yeah, we know they added up to 5, and now we've sort of proved it by noting that there's no 4 in that 40 cage. So, and this obviously sees every cell in the 40 cage. So now that one must be the 3. So these two are adding up to 5. That's no longer a 3. There's probably loads of stuff like that we can do now. We've got an 8-9 pair here, so that's a red-purple pair. So that's not purple anymore. And that's not purple anymore either. So purple is in one of those. Red is not here anymore. Yes, in fact the simple question is, where does red go in box 7? It can only go there exactly. So that's now red. We know there's a red and a purple in the 21 cage, so that's not red. So this square is red, and therefore we know it is either 8 or 9. And that ought to be very important somehow. So that's not 8 or 9 anymore. And it's not 1 or 2. So these two are quite restricted. That's not 4 either. So this is 3 or 5. That's not 3. Oh, but we know there's a 3 in the 19 cage, so that's got to go here. Yeah, we still don't know what this is, do we? Could be either digit, and then, but what it is obviously will affect this. 4 must be in this domino, in box 9. Okay, and this can't be purple, it sees purple in the row, so that's become purple, and that's an 8 or a 9. Wow, wow, okay. So now I feel hopeful again. Are we going to crack the puzzle? That's the question. That's an 8 or a 9. Are we going to crack the puzzle or not? How can a killer Sudoku be this difficult? It's just mad. Right, come on, Simon. What can we do next? 3 is a little bit restricted in box 6. Look, it's got to be in that domino because it can't repeat in its own cage. It's already appeared in the 42 cage. It's not appeared in, that's a 28 cage. Oh, yes, okay, that's right. Well, it must appear in the 28 cage. The 28 cage is only missing 8s and 9s, and now with this 3 being here, the only place it can go is there, so we can actually get the 3. So we've done some 3s. Ah, the 3 in this 19 cage is now in this domino, definitely. So there must be a 3 in one of these squares. It can't repeat in the 42 cage, so it's in one of these. Ah, but this can be a 3 on this side, so we can't yet decide whether this is a 3 or not. So again, it's there's small breaks in the symmetry all over the place in this puzzle that we've got to be careful about. Right, these squares have got to be 5, 6 and 7 just to complete that row, look. So this square is no, that square's a 3. There we go. Didn't spot that, should have done probably. So that's not a 3, so this is a 3. Aha! Aha! Well, that means that's not purple. So that's purple now, which means that square is, you've guessed it, 8 or 9. Now, does that... I feel like that probably matters in a way that I can't see. Yeah, it must matter for where purple goes. Surely. If that's purple and that's purple. No, actually that could work. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure there's some way we can prove where purple goes, but I can't work out what it is. Well, this is... Oh, whoopsie. Have I made a mistake here? That square... See, oh, yeah, that... No, I haven't. 3, 4, looking at this square. So, this box is determined. In fact, I've just noticed that needs to be a 2, but that's far less important than the fact that now I've got the 8 or the 9 roughly positioned. Well, positioned exactly, I don't know what it is, in the 19 cage here, but this square can only be a 5, because it can't be 8 or 9 anymore. We can't have both in there, so that's not a 5, that's not a 5, but more importantly now, how do we make that add up to 19? That's got to be 8. Purple is the 8 digit, which means that's an 8, that's an 8, red is now 9, which means that's now a 4, which means that's now a 4, which means that's now a 4, here we go. That's now a 4. No, this is going too well now. This is now a 4 by Sudoku, because we can't repeat 4 in either of these cages. So 4 in the middle box must be... Oh no, it's not. I thought it was going to be done, but it doesn't seem to be. We've got, oh, I see, we've got 4s here, and 4s in one of those two, perhaps. This square has got to be a 6 or a 7. So what about this 28 cage now? That needs to have 3 and 5 in it, and it hasn't at the moment. So this must be a 3-5 pair. And you're right, if you're thinking that must be resolved, I'm thinking it must be resolved, but I don't know how to... bobbins! Okay, what about this 42 cage down here then? What's this lacking? It can't have 1, 2, 3, 4, so this is 5, 6s and 7s as well, all over the place. So there's there's a 5, 6, 7 triple in column 1, so that has to be a 3. Therefore that has to be a 5, that has to be a 3. Now 3 seems to only have one home in box 8. These squares have got to be 5s, 6s and 7s. That square's a 5, 6 or a 7. That square's a 5, 6 or a 7. Good grief. Okay, so the whole world is basically filled now with 5, 6s and 7s that we can't position anywhere. Although the 42 cage must have a 5 in it, and that seems to only be able to go there. So we do actually know some things about things. There's a 5 in one of those 2 cells now, so 5 must be in one of these 3 cells. It's not there. Oh, 5 can be placed in box 3. So what do we need now? Of course we need... Oh no, we need 6, 7 and 8 up here. That's a change. What does that mean? I apologise if you can all see how to do this from here. I most certainly cannot. What else shall we do? I don't know. I don't know. What's this digit? That's a 6, 7 or an 8 just by Sudoku, isn't it? So that's 6, 7 or 8. I have almost gone full pencil mark here as well. That's slightly embarrassing. Right, these squares have got to be 4s, 6s or 7s. That's all they can be. But that doesn't seem to actually tell me much about anything. These squares, I know one of them is a 9 actually, don't I? One of those is a 9. So the options for these squares, they're not 5, there's a 5 here. So these are 6, 7, 8 or 9. don't know how to do that. There's definitely a 2 in one of those cells. We're going to go over the hour here by miles, aren't we? On a killer Sudoku. What about... I know there's a 1 in one of those cells. I know there's a 2. No, I don't know how to do this. I keep going round in circles in my head, thinking, I've not thought about that. But then I remember I have thought about that. I just can't do it. Those squares are 1, 5, 6, and 7. That is not a 5. So maybe I've got to go back to the cages. Right, let's go back to the cages. I know that this cage has no 2 and no 3 in it, but that seems to be entirely in keeping with what I've pencil marked. I know it has a 1 and a 4 in it. Again, that's exactly what I've pencil marked. So that's all fairly sensible, isn't it? There's something. Right. How is that? Yeah. How is that ever able to be 8? And the answer is I don't think it can be. Because if it is 8, this is 8. And now, where do I put 8 in box 6? And before you say in one of those 2 squares, that doesn't work because I've already got an 8 in this cage. So I can't repeat the 8 in the cage. So this is not 8. Aha! So that means it's not purple. 8 is in one of these 2. So this is not 8. Oh, so I've got a 6, 7 pair here now. So these squares are 2, 8, and 9. Oh, I see, because I've got a 4, 6, 7 triple here. Oh, good grief. Okay. So, can we repeat that trick with these? Is there some way of knowing which way round these go? Oh, there is. Yeah. Well, there is. Not from this, but from this cage now. This cage has got a 4, 6, 7 triple in it, so those can't be 6 or 7, which means these are an 8, 9 pair, which means that they become... Oh, so now I've got an 8, 9 pair in row 5. This is no longer able to be 8, and that means that's an 8 by the power of magic, and that's almost how it feels. So now we can tidy up some pencil marks. I've got this 8, 9 pair. I've got 6s and 7s. What do these digits have the option to be? 1, 2, 6s and 7s. That's not 2. So in this row, I've got to place... No, it still doesn't work. I've got to have one high digit along here. 3 I can place in the middle box. Right, if in doubt, do some Sudoku, Simon, because often it's that's... so if that's 4 now, that has to be 5, because it can't be 3. So if that's 4, that's 5. Oh, actually that can't work. If that's 4 and that's 5, these cells all have to be 6s and 7s, and there are 3 of them. So you'd have to repeat a digit, so that doesn't work. That's not 4. So 4 is now down to 2 positions. This square can't be a 5, I've just noticed, so that's a 6 or 7, so there's a 5. So I can place 5 in the middle box. Aha, which means, aha, that's beautiful. Okay, so I can place 5 in box 4 as well. How did I not spot that before? I don't know. just terrible at Sudoku. So that must be 5 now by Sudoku. 6, 7. Oh, there's definitely a 1. Oh, I already knew there was a 1 in one of those. So how many 5s have we got in the grid? The answer is 7, I see, and we've just got these 2 dominoes left to place them in. Is it the white dot? Is that somehow going to tell me what the world is adding up to? Well, my 1-2 option is still very much intact, isn't it? Because that would have to go in a very particular direction, though. It would have to be like that. There's no 3 on the dot. There's no 4 on the dot. There's no 5 on the dot. So if it's not that, it's good. Oh, 6, 7 on the dot won't work because both of those will have to be 5 then. So it's not 6, 7. 7, 8 would mean this would be a 5, 6. That would be a 4. I'm sure that doesn't work for some reason. I can't prove it though. Oh, I tell you what, 7, 8 is also a little bit restricted by the 8, 9 pair there. So if that was 7, 8, it would have to be in that order. What about 8, 9? Oh no, 8, 9 is simply ruled out by the same logics. Good grief. Right, so this dot is very restricted. It's not got many options. Now, which of these is correct? It's either 1, 2, or 7 below 8. If that was 1, we'd have a 6, 7 pair there. And this would have to be 4, 8, 9. Or I could colour my 6s and 7s. Look, I think there's enough communication that might go somewhere. I'm going to try that, I think. Right, what colours have we not used? Orange, which I never like to use anyway. I've used light grey. I haven't used dark grey, have I? No, I could use dark grey. Maybe I've got to do dark grey and orange and bite the bullet, because I think people prefer that to me using black. Right, so this one now has to be that one, which means that one is this one, and this one is that one. Oh no, I thought it would go for, yes, it does go further than that because of the medium of this 42 cage. That one is now orange as well. Oh, I've got 4 as orange. Why have I got 4 as orange? I don't know, but it doesn't deserve to be orange. Now, so now grey has to be in one of those 2 cells. But we don't know which one, which means grey must be in one. Which actually that's quite cool. That allows me to know that that's grey, because this grey rules out those 2. I already knew that. In fact, if I'd actually looked at this box at all, you don't need this to do that. You just do that straight away. So that's now grey, which means that this square here is orange, which means that's orange, so that's grey. Aha, we are actually getting somewhere here. Yes, we are. We are actually, because now yes, I can place grey in the middle box. It goes there. And if that's grey, it's not 4. So that's 4, which means that's 4. And that means that this square has become orange. This is where we find we've got 2 oranges in the same column or something. That's not 4 anymore. That's not 2. I see. So these 2 are an 8, 9 pair. Orange is in one of those cells. That could put the kibosh on my belief this is a 1, 2 pair. Don't know. Maybe we can do better than that. Right, anyway, let's try carrying on the colouring. We've not coloured orange in this box. Orange is in one of two places there. We've not coloured grey in this box. It's in one of two places. So we've actually almost got all the greys. We've just got dominoes left. So it's oranges we've got to work on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's the 3 central rows. We've got one in one of those two places. In one of these 3 places. And then we know it's in one of these 3 places as well. That can't be a 2. So this square, that square is either a 1, it's not a 2, it's not grey. So that square is either a 1 or an orange. But that's the same as that square, isn't it? That square is also 1 or orange. Yeah, this is a 1 orange pair. Yeah, we don't need the grey stripe there. That's a bit off-putting. So this is 1 or orange. Now this is also 1 or orange. And that's because if we look at the digits we've got left to place in box 8, we've got the digit 1, the orange 6, 7, the grey 6, 7, which we know is here, and the digit 2, which we know is not here. So that is a pair in the row, which means that is not able to be orange. Or, no, or 1. That's got to be 8. That's got to be 8. Which means that's 7. Does that mean it's orange? I'm not sure. Yes. Yes, it does, because now grey has become 6. Oh, that's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Good grief. Right, now, is this going to tell us the answer to the puzzle? So these two, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, I pressed some key or other that was annoying. This is not 6, so this is a 1, 7 pair. That's not 7. This is now definitely orange. That's definitely not orange. So these 3 squares are now 1, 2, and 9. That must be resolved. Yeah, look, 1 here. There we go. Oh, so it wasn't 1, 2 on the line. Oh, well. 1, 7. 7, that's a good lesson. Never rely on anything other than logic to place digits, because it'll probably trip you up if you do. So, oh, we've almost got some sort of deadly pattern here with 1s, 2s. No, that must be resolved. It is 1, 2, 2, 9, 9, 8. Aha, so that's 8 now by Sudoku. That's 9, and that is therefore 2, which means that's 8. 4, 9 pair is fixed. That's 4, that's 9. Ooh, that's fine. 9 and 8 here by Sudoku. Oh dear, dear, dear. This is look. Oh, no, this is. No, it's not wrong. Okay, goodness me, that was a horrible moment there. But look, I've got 5, 6 pairs here, and I was thinking, uh-oh, but this 6 tells me that's got to be a 5 because it would repeat in the box. So that's all finished. Now I would totally omit that my my colouring has gone a bit AWOL here. So let's just try and tidy up the cells that have optionality associated with them, so that everyone is happy with the colouring. We've taken a very long time to get to this point. We might as well take a moment or two longer. We know that the 6 is the grey digit, don't we? 5 didn't deserve a colour. These two, one of those needs to be fully yellow, one of them needs to be red. That one is a 1, which is a green digit. That's a green digit. That's a yellow digit. The 7 is Oh, 7, I've not even finished the puzzle yet, Simon. Good grief. 7 is there, therefore that's green. 9 is red, so we can do those two. And that might be better. No, still leaving things open to interpretation. There we go. That looks better. Yay, we did it. Hour and 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I feel very bad because I imagine that there were ways through that I could have found more quickly. I felt like I was chasing my tail a lot of the time with the 1s and the 2s. It's a fascinating puzzle though. It's so strange the way you can sort of extract little nuggets of logic from it, and then they sort of propagate through the grid in a way that was very unintuitive to me. I really loved the way that these dominoes in the corner work. The fact that they had to add up to 5, and neither of the locally connected ones could appear in the 40 cage that was sort of in their area. That was really beautiful. And the power of this 21 cage is just ferocious and extraordinary. And it actually allowed us to do all sorts of things. Now, I have a horrible feeling that the break into this puzzle was available much earlier by realizing, you know, this thing about the high digits in the 21 cage and the high digits in the 40 cage. That took me a long time to see that. Although, no, it's available as soon as you know this digit is not high. Yeah, it is. It's available as soon as you know that digit is not high. Because at that point, you know that the 21 cage... No, this digit. It's this digit, isn't it? Yeah, it's available as soon as you know that digit is not high. Because that digit could appear in the 21 cage. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, you'd have 3 get-outs there for the 21 cage. So what you've got to do is to realise that these 3 digits, as soon as you know that this digit is a low digit, don't have to know it's a 2, you just have to know it's a low digit that's not capable of being in the 21 cage. At that point, you're golden with the logic around here. And that forces this to be 489, and that was really the key. After that, it was still difficult, but it wasn't monstrously hard. Wow, fascinating. Jeet's doing his PhD, and that is a PhD-level killer Sudoku, be in no doubt. Thanks so much for watching. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time on a Friday night, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.